So moving along with our full website build, in this video we're going to be going ahead and tackling our About Us section. So in regards to the markup, we're going to be creating 3 different sections for the About Us content. So we have this section right here, we have this middle section, and finally we have the last section down here. So let's head over to our index.html and get started. Now to begin, I'm going to go ahead and create a comment down here. We're going to call this About Us. Now, like I mentioned before, we're going to be having 3 different sections for our About Us. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is for the first section, we're going to go ahead and give it a class of About, and then also About 1. And we're going to pretty much copy and paste this down 2 more times for the other 2 sections. And we're going to change this to About 2 and About 3. So the reason why we're doing this is because all the sections will have this About class on it, which will have all the formatting for those sections, but we do need to adjust the formatting in these sections right here, and the easiest way to do that is giving them a secondary class. That way we can target and adjust those layouts in the sections to what we are trying to do. So let's start here with the markup for our About Us section number 1. Now in here we're going to start with a div with a class of container, and we're going to have an h2, and we're going to have this say About Us. Now after this we're going to want to start with our flex row, so let's do div.flex row, and inside of this flex row we're going to have a div with a class of left. Now inside of this left div we're going to have the content, which is going to be this right here. So let's go ahead and start with that. So what we need to do here is we're going to do a p tag here and generate some lorem. So with Emmet, the way we can generate lorem automatically is by typing lorem, the amount you want, so let's say 30, hit tab, and then we can save it to format it properly. So that's a really quick, easy way to generate some data if you are in a bind and you are creating a website. As you know, sometimes it's not always easiest to come up with content, and lorem is a very easy way to do that. Now, below this, we want to actually do some more flex rows because we need to create this content right here. So below the p tag, we're going to do a div with a class of flex row again. So right now we are having a flex row inside of a flex row because we need to go ahead and display this content side by side. Now, inside of this flex row, we're going to have 2 more of these. So let me just go ahead and get the first one set up here. So we're going to want to grab our icons from Font Awesome. So how we're going to do that is we're going to head over to fontawesome.com, and you can click on the icons up here. And I like to narrow it down by free, so that way we only see what we want because we're not going to be using the pro version here. So for the first one, we're going to be using a bullhorn. So if I type in bullhorn, I can click on it here, and simply I can just copy this I class here, head back over to our index.html, and paste that in. So now we need to go ahead and do the content for this flex row. So we're going to do a div with a class of info. Inside here we're going to do an h4, and we're going to call this title. Now it's capitalized that T, title number 1. And then we're going to have a paragraph with some more lorem, and we're going to do lorem 15 tab and save that. And there we go. So that is the basic structure for this icon setup right here, or the side-by-side content with the icon and then the title and the summary. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this down 2 more times. And there we go. So that is going to be the left-hand side of the flex row. So let's go ahead and work on the right, and it's going to be as simple as doing a div with the class of right. And inside here, we're going to want to grab our image. So what we want to do is image / and we're going to look for the about image.svg, and that is going to be it for the first section. So let's head over to our document and see how it looks. And obviously right now it definitely needs some styling, but let's go ahead and work on the other 2 sections in terms of the HTML before we do that, because like I said, they will be using a lot of the same shared styling. So let's go ahead and just knock out all the HTML first. So heading back here, let's work on the section 2. And it's going to be pretty identical. So we're going to start with a div with a class of container, and we're also going to throw on a flex row. Okay, so we have a left-hand side, so we're going to say div.left, and inside of here we're going to have our image. So let's go ahead and grab our image tag and then look for the About Us, or we're going to be using about extra1.svg. So that is it for the left-hand side, and we're going to go ahead and do the right now. And this is going to be in H3, and it's going to be about us secondary content title. Then we're going to be using some lorem, and to save some time here, I'm just going to go and copy and paste this in to keep things consistent with our demo, as I don't remember how much lorem it was we used for these. So there we go. That is the section for the about to. So now if I head back over here, you'll see that it looks like this. And once again, still need to do the styling. So for the third section, it is going to be identical to this. We're just going to reverse the order of the image and the data. So let's go ahead and do div.container .flex row, and instead of having the image on the left, it'll be on the right. So we'll say div.left, and we'll go ahead and copy and paste this data in right here, which was our info. There we go. Save that, and Prettier will take care of the formatting. And below the left-hand div, we're going to do a div.right, grab an image tag here, and say image, and we're going to get us the about extra2 SVG. And let's go ahead and just put that to a second row, and there we go. That looks a lot better. So there we go. That is all the markup for our About Us section. So let's head over to our document here and take a peek. So obviously, like I mentioned a few times here, definitely need to do some styling. So let's head over to our style.css or SCSS and get started on that. So to begin, let's go ahead and start by creating a comment here for About Us, and then go ahead and target our About class. Now, the first thing I want to go ahead and target is our images. So what we can do here, as you can see right now, they're taking up a large amount of space. And to fix that, we can go ahead and actually define a width, and we're going to go ahead and give this 60%. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in a media query here, and we're going to say min width of 900 pixels. And at 900 pixels, we're going to go ahead and set the width to 100%. Okay, now we take a look at that. You can already see that is a huge difference from what we had before we defined that. So let's continue on here. Next up, I want to go ahead and target our H2, and we're going to go ahead and text align this to the center. And also, I want to target our P tags here and set the line height to 1.7. And what I do, 1.7. And next, I want to target the flex row. We're going to give this a gap of 50 pixels. We're going to set the flex direction of this to column. And then we're going to throw in a media query as well. Same thing of 900 min width. And we're going to set the flex direction back to row. So if we take a look at this, you should see now that if we inspect this, once we, oh, I'm already at it. So once we get to below 900, this should go into a column, which, what's going on here? Is it doing that? There we go. So once it goes below 900, you can see that now we are in a column instead of a row. And if we go back above 900, back into a row. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue on here. So next up, I want to go ahead and address the fact that right now you can see that this content right here is taking up probably more like 70% of the space available. So to get that equal, we can set the left and right classes we went ahead and created here. So we have the left, and then we have the right. Well, actually, we're going to be addressing all of them, but you guys can see what I mean. So if we target the left and right, and we do comma, and we do right, and we set this to a flex of 1, that will set them to both be equal. And you can see now that they're taking up equal amount of space, and that looks a lot better. So now we want to go ahead and actually target these flex rows here in the About section number 1. We need to do some styling to these. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do, say, we're going to target the left, and then we're going to say the flex row inside of that left. Now, we gave a gap of 50 pixels to the flex row out here, but we don't want that on this. So what we can do is we can say gap and set that to 0. We are going to set the flex direction to column. We are also going to put a margin top of 32 pixels. And then let's go ahead and scroll this down a little bit and set align items to the center. And then once again, we're also going to include a media query in here. So at media, min width, 900 pixels. And let's go ahead and set the flex direction back to rows. So right now we should see, was it 900? No, this one was supposed to be 500, my mistake, because that would absolutely do nothing because we already declared that up here. So what we're saying here is once it goes below 500, we want to change it from a column into a row. So let me go ahead and demonstrate what we just did there. So if we inspect this and we get to the breaking point right here of 900, it goes into a column, but these are still in a row. And then once we get below 500, these will leave a flex row and become a flex column. So that is what we did right there with that styling. Now, next up, I want to target the actual info, which is this right here, which has all of our content in it. So what we want to say here is we'll stay in within the left, and we'll come down here and we'll say info. And what we want to do here is we'll start with a display of flex. We'll set the flex direction to column. We will align the items to the center and also put a margin top of 32, we'll put a margin top of 20 pixels on there. And then we're going to do a media query. Media, confusing myself there. And we're going to say min width of 500 pixels. And here we're going to say margin top 0. And we're going to align the items back to its initial state. So what we did here is we said that we want to align everything to the center. And then we also want to put them back once we get to above 500 so that they aren't looking out of place. And as you can see there, it looks just as it did before, but now when we get below 500, these are all centered. So let's continue on here. So next up, we want to target the paragraph inside of the info. So what we can do here is inside info, we can just go ahead and say P for our paragraph tag, and we're going to set the color to 444 and give it a font size of a little smaller of 14 pixels. Okay, so now that we have that done, we want to go ahead and actually style up our icons, because right now they don't look great at all. And I just noticed here I never changed out these icons for the other ones, so I'll do that here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and finish up the styling first. So if we head back to our style sheet, excuse me, we want to target our eyes. So we can just simply say I and open that up. So we want to display these as flex. We want to align the items to the center. We want to justify content center. We want to make these a fixed width of 70 pixels, a height of 70 pixels. We want to give this a border of 2 pixels solid, and we're going to give this a color of 007, oops, I had a space in there, 007 BFF, which is going to be a blue color I believe we have already used. We're going to set the border radius to 50% to make it a circle. And then we want to put a transition here of 500 milliseconds ease, all for the hover property we're going to add to this. And then we want to add a color here of 007BF, I believe, is that right? Yes, okay. And then we want to make this font size become 24 pixels. And then we're going to add a media query here for when it's above 500 pixels, so media. And we want to do a min width of 500 pixels here. So when it's above 500 pixels, it's going to be side by side like this. So we want to add some separation from our icon to the content here. So what we can do is set a margin right of 16 pixels. So let's go ahead and save that and see how it looks. And what's going on here? And why didn't we have any change here? Let me take a look what we did wrong. You know what? I nested it inside of the info right here. We don't want to do that, so let's take that out of here. And let's go ahead and just nest it inside of the left. So we need to put it one more down. Now, if we save that, we should see those take effect. And right now, they don't look great. And the reason for that is we need to go ahead and I believe set the flex to 1 on the... What was it again? Was it info, I believe we need to set that to flex 1? Let me see if that there we go. So when we set that to flex 1, it makes it take up all the space available and only allows space for this, getting rid of that smushed type of icon we just had. Okay. So adding flex 1, if we remove this again, what's commented out, you'll see what'll happen. It becomes distorted, so we don't want that. So adding flex 1 will go ahead and fix that for us. So we're almost done here with this right here. So right now we don't have any hover effect, so let's go ahead and add the hover effect to our icon. So back to our style sheet here. Inside of our eye, we're going to go ahead and do what we have done before. We're going to do and, or is it, yep, and, I always get confused, hover. And we don't need 2 of those. I don't know why it generated 2. Inside of the hover, we want to say background color, change that to the blue we've been using. Border color, which we can come down here and make that transparent, and then change the color to white. So if we save that and now we hover over these, we should see a very smooth transition. Now let me also change out these icons very quickly here so that we can actually have some let it match the demo here. So let me go ahead and get that. Where are they at? So here is the scale. Let's go over here and we're gonna say scale. There we go. And then we have the globe. Okay, so there we go. So if we change that, now that looks a lot better. Actually, that's not the right one. So there we go. Now, we still have some things to take care of here. So let's head back to our style sheet. Now, I want to add some styling to a few different classes. Like I talked about before, we have these about 1, 2, and 3 on each of our sections. So if we actually go ahead and inspect this, you'll see right now the image is not centered. It just, there's still some issues going on here. So let's go ahead and address that. So to begin here, let's go ahead and target. Let's go ahead up here and we're going to go ahead and close this out. So what I want to do first is I'm going to target the about 1. And we want to target the left-hand side. And inside of this left-hand side, we want to text align center. And then we want to say at media. And we're going to give this a min width of 500 pixels. Then we want to text align initials. So with that being said, what we did there is if we come up to the about section 1, once it goes below 500, we should see all of this content gets centered in the middle, which looks a lot better. Okay. So next up, I also want to do some targeting to the about 1, but also the about 3. So we're going to say about 1, and we're also going to target about 3. Now in here, what I want to do is target the right-hand side. So the right-hand side in about 1 and 2, or 1 and 3 contain the image. So what we're going to say here is we want to display these as flex. We then want to justify the content to the center. And then we also want to create a media query here. Media. And we're going to say the min width of 900 pixels. We then want to align items to the start. So what we're doing here is you can see now the images are centered on 1 and 3. So if we didn't have that align property back to start, you can see that if we go ahead and take this away, you may not notice you actually still have to do some padding to these sections. If I comment this out, you can see that now this is going to go into the center. We want it at the top. So how we can achieve that is by using align items and setting that to the start. Okay. Now, next up, I want to target the about 2. So we'll say about 2. And we want to target the left. So what we want to say here is we want to set the order to 2. We want to set the display as flex. And we want to justify the content to the center. Okay. And then we're also going to create a media query here. So media again. We're going to use the min width of 900 pixels. And we're going to set the order back to 1 and align items to start as we did in this one right here. So now if we come over here and we shrink it down again, you can see that now the order looks a lot better. Before we had the image touching each other. So now we have it separated and we have it going content image, content image, content image when it's in a column format. Now when it's back up to a desktop format, you can see right now it looks we need to do adjusting here. So what we'll get to that next. Okay. So if we go ahead and target the let's see here. What did I do wrong? Okay, so about 2. Then we want to target, I actually forgot this. We want to target the right, and we want to set the order to 1, and media, oops, we'll do media, and we'll put in here min width of 900 pixels, and we'll say order 2. So that should fix the problem we just had. Yep, there we go. So I was wondering why that was off, and that was the reason. I had forgotten about that right there. So we shrink it down. It looks great. It goes content photo, and we come back to a desktop view, and it looks how it should. Now, last thing I want to go ahead and target is we're going to say about 2, and then about 3. We want to change the paragraph or the p tag to have a margin bottom of 20 pixels to add some separation in between this right here. Okay, so lastly, what we need to do is we need to begin to add some padding to these sections. Okay, now how we're going to do this is we're going to head to our style sheet here, and instead of adding the padding directly to our about us style is right here, we're going to go ahead and create a new comment and call this multiple section styles. Okay, now in here we're going to go ahead and create a way for each and every time we go ahead and create a new section, we can simply add that class to the properties here and then have it take that padding each and every time, instead of us having to write out new padding rules for every section inside of, you know, for example, this about, or when we do the Y section, we don't have to keep writing out that padding. We can simply just add the class name up here, and it will go ahead and have that padding that we set. And that way it makes sure that if we want to ever change the padding for all the sections, we can do it in one spot. Okay, so we only have one section right now that's going to have this padding, so it does look a little bare, and it may not make sense. So for the mobile padding, we're going to set this to 50 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right. And then once it gets to above 900, we're going to go ahead and change that. So 900 here. And we want to change the padding to be 100 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right. So if we save that and take a look, you can now see we have the correct padding that matches our demo here. So let me actually go ahead and bring this up. So if we switch between these two, you can see that the padding looks correct. And if I shrink it here down to a mobile viewport, you can see that the padding goes to 50 pixels top and bottom to eliminate a lot of white space on the mobile view. Okay, so that is going to do it for the about section. Next up, we are going to work on the services, which have these really cool cards that when you hover over them, it does this really cool animation like it is going kind of up. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that and create this in the next video.